Hey guys, welcome to Finance Operators. Today we'll be discussing growth equity. Specifically, we're going to go over a deal that we passed on that Drew thinks is good. I don't know if it's really good, but anyways, we'll go into it. We'll debate it a little bit. We'll go back and forth. We'll go through when raising growth equity makes sense, when it doesn't make sense. This will be a relatively short episode, but make sure you listen to the whole thing. It'll be action packed. You'll have lots of fun. I guarantee it. You'll be so excited about it. You'll tell your parents. Thank you to our sponsors, Phil, Iris, Fondue, and Numeral. They all make this podcast possible. So go check them out. Let them know that we sent you. What are you up to? Where are you right now? What are you doing?
I am in Los Angeles. I have a series of meetings. So first ever mobile pod. I am recording from...
Second.
Who did the first one?
You did. You're at the other hotel.
Literally mobile though, with my cell phone. I'm recording this to you live. It's not actually live. From my cell phone. First ever cell phone pod goes to me. So I've been pretty notorious for, despite my current livelihood, not being able to figure out the technology to set up these podcasts. So we are coming to you live. I am in LA currently, running around for a couple of days. You're at home? Looks like.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
You have a baby. You can't go anywhere. You have a baby.
Oh, I can go. I just don't want to. Let's see.
Well, that baby needs you, right? I mean, what happens if you leave? What happens to the baby?
Nothing. She doesn't. I don't feed her, so it doesn't.
Nothing.
Really.
You just. That makes sense.
They only drink milk for like the first 6 months. They actually can't even drink water. Did you know that?
Oh wait, the baby. Wait, what? The baby doesn't drink water?
Babies can't drink water for the first 6 months.
That's not true.
Yeah, look it up. Look it up. No, seriously, look it up right now. I didn't believe my wife when she said that, and I looked it up, and I was like, "What?" Yeah, they're not supposed to drink water. It gives them like water poisoning really easily, and they can only digest so much food.
Water poisoning.
You have to give them only milk, basically.
Okay, sure.
Are you looking it up?
I'm pulling my computer. So today's pod is all about babies and taking care of your babies. No, I'm just kidding. Mehtab, what are we going to talk about today?
So let's go through a growth equity deal. We passed on it. I'll just go through why we passed on it. You think it might still be a good deal? I actually don't think we'd still make any money. I can just be too hard, too much risk. And then let's go through hims and hers earnings, as well as we can talk about Skechers too. The acquisition by 3G.
Yeah, Skechers got bought for $9 billion. Was that you? Did you do that?
No. I unfortunately have $12. So yeah, let's go through those right now, and then maybe let's go through some opportunities if you were looking at investing in D2C. Just given that's what we're kind of going over first. So let's start with the growth equity deal. So you're in LA. You're out having fun with a company that we had passed on. It's in, I don't want to say the name of the company because obviously I don't want to just
Let's not say the name. It's a durables company. And they're not, I tried to get him. I was hanging out with him last night. I tried to get him to let me put money in. He's not interested. But essentially it's a durables business with a sort of recurring element where it's kind of, it's not competitive or that similar, but it's the same kind of business model as like Jolie Skin, if you're familiar with Ryan and his business. Yeah. Where they're selling like a kind of like a high AOV durable product with like a classic razor and blades type model. And to be honest with you, I think that's one of the best models in D2C right now. Because you get that high AOV of durables, which is a high LTV, right? Just a very quickly realized LTV.
Yep.
But then you do also get that sort of recurring revenue element.
Yeah, it's like I bought a garbage can from this company. They have proprietary trash bags, and I have to buy trash bags through them. And they're not actually badly priced. They don't like gouge you or anything, but it is kind of funny when you think about how much recurring revenue they're getting off of me on the trash bags.
Proprietary? So, what makes a trash bag proprietary?
They're like a certain size. So it's like, Simple Human. Like I don't know. The product's really nice, but
Simple Human, why does it sound familiar? Is that like a brand?
Yeah, they just do like home goods. So in this case, there's like a trash bin that I bought, and I really liked it. It's huge. Perfect for all my trash that I accumulate as a raccoon.
Yeah, home goods is I bought a place like a year ago. And it's amazing how much money I'm willing to spend to outfit it slash repair slash renovate slash whatever. It's not a market that I necessarily appreciated, honestly, before, even though it was booming, obviously during COVID. Um, but yeah, what do you want to dive into about growth
Yeah. So
equity? I mean,
you said you would have done the deal. I said even with the current outcome and the growth now, it's like I don't know if it would still be a good idea to do it. I can just kind of walk you through what happened if you want.
I don't want to like talk to just don't give like too much detail. I don't want
Oh,
to
no,
like dox them.
I'm not going to talk about the brand at
Oh,
all.
okay,
As
okay,
far as
okay.
like what it
Yeah,
is, I'll
yeah,
just go
yeah.
over.
Fill
Yeah.
me in then. Fill me in.
Yeah, because I'm still good friends with them. So, like obviously they're growing really well. Still are growing well. I think they had just a little bit of a customer acquisition hiccup. Um,
Yeah,
for us, like there wasn't IP, there wasn't really a team, and there's like
no
they're
team.
largely using it. Yeah, they're largely using agencies. So I think what was difficult for us is like we always underwrite. You have to look at the exit, right? Like, how are you going to get your money out? We can be fairly flexible there. I think in 2020 or 2021, this is the kind of deal we totally would have done. And then we would have tried to sell the equity on in the next round that they raised, or maybe the round after that round. Um,
Well, you
my
looked
only
at it in
issues,
2021.
no, I'm saying if we had,
Oh,
if this was like a deal in 2021 or 2020,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's exactly the kind of deal we would have done, and then just sold our equity in the next round. It's like you come in the Series A, you kind of provide some liquidity, you jump in, you get your hands dirty, help them kind of build the company out, and then sell your equity in the Series B. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
get in, just get out, and it's not like we don't really want to ride it to the end and hopefully
Were
get
you doing
things
that
like
in
hmm?
2021?
Were we what?
Were you doing that? Like,
Yeah,
were
we
you
sold a
getting
bunch of secondary. We sold a ton of secondary. Like we made more in secondary until very recently. We've made more in secondary than anything else
really?
by
Good for
a
you.
pretty large factor. So it was just kind of crazy, right? It was like you could get more for selling. You could get more selling, raising venture capital and selling secondary than you could for selling a brand outright. For example, if you had something with like 2 or 3 million in EBITDA, first of all, no one cared about EBITDA, which is just absurd to
Yeah,
me because some of
that's
these
pretty.
businesses were not. Yeah, I'm like some of these businesses were not venture scale, right?
No,
So
certainly
it's
not.
nuts. Like people would make offers at really insane valuations, in my eyes at least, where you would actually make more on secondary than you would if the company did well and sold. And by well, I mean like it got to 5 million in EBITDA and it sold. You would not get the same price you would get versus the venture round in selling secondary, which is just again absurd to me, right?
Let's talk about
Um,
this a little bit though. This is super interesting. Like how were you able to stay so disciplined during that time? Like what do you think was different? Like why were you selling when everybody was buying?
I think 'cause it's largely our own capital, and we're not really when we do raise money for deals, it's on a deal by deal basis. There's like a pool of LPs that we've worked with that we can just hit up. But we're still very prudent, and I'm not like the valuations didn't make sense, right? Like there was no underlying catalyst or reason for them to suddenly make sense. If you looked at just the history of consumer, at no point were they ever that high, other than maybe like
Yeah, but
2016 and 2017 for consumer, like
yeah,
D2C specifically.
they were never that high, but that was kind of the whole thing, was like it was never going to stop. The party was never supposed to stop, right? So
Yeah, I
until
don't
it
know.
did.
I think you're definitely more careful when it's your own dollars. They're not making fees, right?
I
I
think
think
that might be an interesting thing that you bring up. People just like to spend other people's money.
no. Well, I think the thing with a fund is like they have to deploy money over a certain period, more or less. It's like use it or
Yeah,
lose it. And then on top of that, they want to collect fees, right? The more they deploy, the more they can collect in fees, et cetera. And you see it all the time.
yeah,
Um,
and they're incentivized to raise to basically. This is why I'd love to like know more numbers on this, but venture capital is in general a pretty duddy asset class. All of
I
the
have pretty good
alpha.
numbers if you want. Kaufman
Okay.
Foundation. Have you heard of them?
No.
They published a really good report on their investments in venture versus they broke everything out like venture, vanilla private equity buyouts, distressed debt, regular private credit, and then I think turnaround as well. I can't remember,
Mhm.
but they broke it all out in detail. And basically, yeah, and like venture had underperformed holistically as an asset class. And I thought it was really funny in 2020 and 2021 when you saw people saying like, "Oh, it's the best thing ever. Venture's the best," and all these guys disappeared
Yeah.
overnight, right? Um, it just makes a lot of, it's just like a lot of things being invested in were not venture scale, and it made no sense for them to receive venture dollars. So
Yeah, it's funny. Like it's basically like if you also all the alpha in this in venture capital basically goes to Sequoia, Andreessen, Excel, Thrive, and name your pick or whatever.
yeah.
Um, so if you, it's almost like, I mean, this might be like a little bit of like a hot take. Definitely, probably true in consumer. Like Bruins, they just raised from Headline, right? Like Headline's like a really nice company, really nice shop, mix of venture and
Well, let's
growth
actually
equity.
talk
But
about like who should raise venture, and I think a good example is someone like our sponsor Numeral. Two things are certain in life: death and taxes. They raised a bunch of money. They built an amazing solution for sales tax, and they make it easy to stay compliant. With all that money, they even have a guarantee that says they'll cover any mistakes they make. So, uh, to me, makes a ton of sense to use them. Woobles uses them. Doe,
Mike's Hot
Emmy,
Honey.
yep. Yep. Mike's Hot Honey, classic, makes all your pizza taste great. And now, not only will your pizza taste great, but you don't have to worry about the company running into sales tax compliance issues. So enjoy that hot honey in peace. Go head over to Numeral's website, numeralhq.com. Let them know that the finance operator sent you. And yeah, it's very easy to set up, makes everything painless, and they will not hit you with any sort of insane price hikes or anything like that. A really cool company. I know their founder, great guy, and they did raise venture, and they did a really good job with that. So yeah, let's and I should we actually talk about why something like that is a good idea for venture?
Um, yes, I wanted to make one point
Mhm.
prior, which is if it's basically like if you're not raising from those top tier funds, and it's not exclusive to the ones that I mentioned, but if you're not raising money from a really sort of reputable, good venture capitalist, you're probably not gonna your business probably isn't gonna be a good investment. Is like kind of what's coming true. So yeah, I think it's a good thing to talk about. What does make a good venture investment?
Yeah. Um, I think a really big part of it is that there's an actual use case for the capital versus a lot of the times what you saw in 2020 and 2021. There is no real use case for the capital. Like you didn't need, like I think Gorgeous is a good example. They raised a bunch of money to build a product that you don't actually need any money to build because ComSlayer went and built the same thing for
Mhm.
free and they charged $0 and a guy just
Have you
bootstrapped
used
it.
that ComSlayer?
I've looked at it. We use Rich Panel because I think it is like a fun, and I think the founder of ComSlayer will tell you the same thing.
Bleep
Like
that out. They don't sponsor. Bleep that out.
well, we use Rich Panel across like 3 or 4 of our brands. Great experience. We moved off of a mix of things we're using. I think some were using Gorgeous, some were using Zendesk, some were using what's the one that GoDaddy just bought? I can't remember. Reamaze. And yeah, so good experience with them. I'd recommend them a lot. But I don't know why Gorgeous raised so much money. I don't know why they needed like I don't know how much they raise again. It was like 500 million or something crazy.
No way.
Let's say Gorgeous Crunch Lab.
Well,
But
to
I
be
don't know.
honest, I mean, I don't agree with that. I don't think that's a good example of a company that shouldn't have raised any money. The whole like
Really?
CS like call center or whatever, industry is massive. Like if they want to raise $100 million, they could easily burn that on AI. It's interesting.
AI. I don't. Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, like R&D.
I can't even find the. Do you have a subscription to Crunchbase? You probably do.
No, I don't.
Oh, really?
I do. I have PitchBook though, but
They used to
my
show all this. Now they stopped. Weird.
I
Anyways,
think their last round was like 60 million Series C or something like that. So maybe it's added up to 500.
it's not five. Maybe it's like it's more than 200. I think. Or even let's call it 100 million. It's just like a lot of money to build a CX platform that's not even that good. Like I don't know if you've used it. It's like cool, it has a nice UX and
I've not
UI,
used
but
it. Yeah,
yeah,
I've not used it.
there's no feature. Just to be really clear, there's no features in there that Rich Panel doesn't have. There's no features in there that some of the other players don't have. So I don't actually know where the money went.
Well, probably to the founders.
Good for them though. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, probably for the founders. But, um, I've thought a bit about this because I've raised venture. Like I'm like kind of a venture capital guy, right? Like I've raised Like I haven't done a ton of growth equity. I haven't really done much M&A. I did a few IPOs back on the desk, but most of my career has been venture capital. And Mad Rabbit, we raised like 20 million. Well, not all of that was equity, but we raised a lot of money. Um, and now with Iris, you know, we've done some venture capital too. They're two very, and I'm going to talk more about this when we have some news that we're going to announce probably pretty soon. But I'll talk a little bit more at some point about the differences between raising venture for software and for consumer.
Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are many differences. For the first thing is like if you're raising money as a software company, um, if you have decent numbers and it's like at least an okay story, every single venture capital firm in the entire country will take your call, which is a problem. It's a problem, right? Because they're not all interested. And I didn't know if you knew. I don't know if you know this. A lot of venture associates are basically like their performance is graded by how many deals they are like able to just even like see. Like they call it coverage or
Yeah, I'm familiar.
yeah. And I was like, God damn it! That's why 50 associates are emailing me every single week.
Yeah, a lot of them are famous. A lot of I forgot a few firms kind of have a reputation just for doing a lot of outbound.
Yeah. So, well, it's the model of a lot of those firms.
Yeah, one of them gets made fun of a lot. I forget who it is, but they actually have good returns. I can't remember. Anyways.
Anyways, there are many differences between raising venture raising for software and raising for consumer. If I were starting a consumer brand today, I would raise $5 million. Like I think the Garoons team did it really nicely. Like you want to have enough money. They raised 10 million, I think is like their seed round or whatever. You want to raise enough money to be able to test and explore and try things in a way that you're not afraid, right? So I actually think bootstrapping, it's just like, I mean, it's better, I guess, but it's just and it's certainly feasible. But I don't know that I have the skill set to bootstrap a company. I think I would need to test a few, you know, marketing ideas, a few product ideas before I was able to really kind of lean into something. Because I think, you know, but the thing that I see with bootstrapping is people are just they're so afraid to spend money, but like you got to spend money to make money. Like how do you feel? How do you feel about that kind of conundrum of a consumer? Like everyone's so cost focused, but it's like you gotta pay to play a little bit here.
I think most of the best outcomes in D2C are bootstrap brands for good reason. Because I don't think like the margin profile, they're just because you don't get expansion. Like there's not as much operating leverage in a consumer business the way there is in software.
There's almost none. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, your cogs are always going to be there to an extent, even if you're doing 500 million a year versus 5 million a year, you're going to have cogs. It's physical product, right? Versus software where there's a ton of operating leverage. I think it masks some of the issues you would typically, like you get more efficient, right? Like that's just the reality. If you're deploying a bunch of dollars and you're scaling, you're going to become less efficient overall as an organization. In consumer, I think staying laser focused on keeping that efficiency is important. And one of the best ways to do that, like the forcing mechanism for that is bootstrapping. And it depends on the category you're in, right?
Yeah. What are the best bootstrapped outcomes?
I think HexCloud's a great example.
Were they bootstrapped?
Yes. They quote unquote raised money recently, but they didn't actually need the money, if that makes sense. It wasn't like
that's a good example.
And then Ridge is bootstrapped. They're another good example.
That hasn't really been like an outcome though. I'm saying like
I think the outcome of being able to pay yourself 8 figures a year is pretty good. I just think it's silly to even think about an exit when you have like quite a bit of FCF coming off of it, right?
That's true. When I hear outcome, I think of like some acute event, right? Like,
I don't really factor in exits or even really think of them too much versus just overall liquidity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of you know, like Haya, like they raised a little bit of money. Shout out Darren, friend of the pod. Not really. He DM'd me one time.
Supplement company?
They sold to Sama for 200 something million.
They had really cool labeling, right? Like the bottle or something. Is that what it was?
I don't know. It's like kids vitamins. I never really did it. Like Poppy obviously raised money. Like Alipapa's. Yeah. So.
Oh, sorry. Beverage to me makes a ton of sense to raise for because that's just very capital intensive. You're in retail. Like anytime like food and bev, I would exclude. Like I'm thinking of totally different things, by the way.
Exclusively D2C.
I
D2C
mean, like
only.
consumer selling, like excluding anything food, excluding any sort of beverages, because those are both
Okay.
very capital intensive, right? I actually don't even know if you could really bootstrap. Like obviously it's been done, but it's very, very hard. And I think there's a really good use case for venture in that case, right? Just
Yeah,
because
yeah.
retail, deploying into retail at scale and food and bev is so hard without capital.
Yeah.
Yeah, much more challenging.
And I think it's like, what do you, in consumer, like, what do you spend venture on? Like, at Mad Rabbit, like we spend it on marketing. And like, I don't know. I mean, like, it worked out in a lot of ways for that brand. But it's kind of like, it just accelerated where we would have gone, right? Like, instead of doing it in 7 years, we did it in 5 years or 4 years or whatever. But I don't know, like R&D, like the reason that like raising money for my company now makes a ton of sense is because, we turned profitable this month, or will be,
Oh,
I think, our first.
congratulations.
Thank you. It's very like we're gonna make like $1,000.
Oh,
um,
it's just way less stressful than burning though, even if it is just
it
$1,000,
is
right?
it. I love the peace of mind around just like I know
Mhm.
that this isn't going away anymore. Not that I thought it was going to go away, but like there's a tangibility to it, and like so now like for Iris, it's like how cool would it be if we had an iOS app, right? But like if I'm making $1,000 a month in profit, which it would go up meaningfully every month, but um I'm not gonna spend 50 grand on building that or 150 grand or whatever. I'm building that iOS app. So there's this concept in software of R&D, and oftentimes it's capitalized in the balance sheet, obviously. And then you eventually roll it through your P&L. The same way that like you do with inventory, right? So like when a consumer brand buys a bunch of inventory, that doesn't get expensed right away. It goes to your balance sheet.
Yep.
So you can think of software built. Like, you can think of writing code as like buying inventory, and then eventually you have to expense that inventory. Um, but like we're not gonna make a ton of. Remember, we're not gonna make the level of R&D investment that we want unless we raise external capital. And we're just gonna, and it's fine. I mean, we
And you're
could
also
just
in a
like,
bit of an arms race, right? Like you do have competitors. They are raising money, and it turns into a bit of an arms race where you're kind of forced to do that versus something consumer where someone raises, it doesn't actually really affect you as much because the decision making on the consumer end isn't as logical as B2B, right?
yeah, I think that's a fair point.
Yeah.
In our case, I haven't felt pressured to raise money by competitors.
Mhm.
Um, I don't even know that there's been like a direct competitor that's popped up, which has been pretty crazy to me. Maybe luxurious for the time being, but yeah, I mean, like you end up like Uber and Lyft is like a famous story of like, Masa San goes to I think they invested in Uber. I should know that, but like they went to Travis Kalanick and they were like, "We're going to give you $100 million, and if you don't take it, we're going to give it to Lyft."
Do you want a
And
fun
it's
bit of
like,
trivia with Uber? My
please, I love the Uber story.
original
I think it's the best story in startups.
my original co-founder was one of the first 4 people at Uber Eats, and
Shut up. No way.
she
Oh, Uber Eats. Okay.
she made it. Well, she still made a ton of money and basically retired like 6 months after we started working together. And she's
Really?
like, "I'll just sell you guys the positions back at cost. Don't worry about it." And I was like, "Thank you." So that was nice of her. Shout out to Kat. Thank you. Um, I need to email her. I wonder how she's doing. I should text her.
Sounds like she's doing great.
Yeah, she's probably just hanging out on the beach or something. She's actually in LA, so
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
yeah.
If you haven't read, have you read Super Pumped?
No, but I've heard a lot of funny stories about Travis. Like apparently at an offsite, he was like, don't impregnate it, don't create life and don't end life. Those are the only 2 rules."
They spent $25 million renting out the Las Vegas Strip. The Strip, not a hotel, the Strip. They rented every single hotel. He spent $25 million. They called it their like 10 to 10, like 10 to the 10th, like exponent party. I think it was when they hit like whatever amount of users that is. What is 10 to the 10th? Is it a million or a billion? I don't know.
I don't know.
Marco, what's 10 to the 10th?
Is your CTO right there?
Yeah. You're the
You weren't
math guy.
kidding.
What's 10 to the 10th? Come on, you know that. Over a trillion, he says. That doesn't make sense. I don't believe
That doesn't
that.
make sense. Anyways, okay, no public math on the podcast. We're adopting that rule. Thank you. I'm not a math guy. I failed calc like twice, so I'm good.
Dude,
Or
I got a
once.
C in
I failed
calc.
once.
I'm
Really?
more of an idea guy. All I do is come up with ideas, and then I whip my
I'm
engineers to create
definitely
them.
more of a Excel guy, meaning I'm really bad at math. So I just type in the formulas and they work. Thank you. Okay, so let's go back to that brand, like why we didn't invest in it. I did want to quickly talk about an interesting SaaS brand that did a good job of raising and built a really good company, and that's Fulfill. Fulfill's one of our sponsors. I don't know if you guys know this, but they actually raised just a very, very small round initially, used that to build a product, got profitable super fast, and scaled. And it's really cool to see. I mean, they're incredibly profitable. One of my friends, Moise Ali from Native, he invested in it, I think, and a few other D2C guys did too. Maybe I might be wrong, but I know Moise did.
I think they like bought out their investors.
Maybe I don't know, but they've really crushed it. Good job. I think that's what makes them. That's what made me comfortable to use them. We'll go back to the VC thing. So let's talk about why we didn't do the deal. Let me scroll up here. So again, 2020 or 2021, I would have gladly done the deal, I think, and just aimed to get exit liquidity relatively quickly. Because
what would you be looking for in terms of like a MOIC on that kind of in and out? Not much, 2x.
No, I'd want to make sure there's room to at least make like 5x because I think it's pretty risky. Like your hold periods were pretty low. Like we were holding positions for.
You're getting 5x in between Series A and B? No way.
Well, keep in mind we accumulated some of our positions in like 2019, which was actually a really bad year for venture in D2C, and then we accelerated that in 2020, and then quickly flipped them out in 2021, 2022 ish.
Okay.
And no, we were not getting a 5x. I'm just saying, I wish there should have been room to at least get like a 5x out potentially in our little brain. And if you see the upside potential, then if obviously you'll settle for more or less anything, right? Like I don't care if I only double or triple in a year. Like to me, that's pretty good. So I think that's when this deal would have made sense. The problem for me is even with the brand where it is now, I don't think we would make money. And we wouldn't have made enough money relative to the risk for where the company was at when we looked at it. Even next year, like let's say they get to 15 million in EBITDA, I think the IP thing's a big problem. I think they can solve that. Like if they can throw cash at it, they can do a bunch of R&D and they can create their own product. But even if you sold for 15x, 225 million, you entered at 50 million, that's 4.5x over like 2 years, 3 years, which honestly isn't really worth it on the risk side, right?
4.5x isn't worth in 3 years. 4.5x isn't worth.
Yeah, but if you did
IP risk of that brand.
No, like here's the deal. We've looked at other brands like this. Like there's another one that was doing 50, 60 million in apparel and it was growing really fast. I'm talking like
apparel.
I should check on them. They're probably doing like 80 or 100 million now, but and that was from nothing. They got to that in like 6 or 8 months. Something absolutely ridiculous, like run rate. Another one was in health and wellness, and that one was doing over 100 million. Very small team, really good numbers, etc. Profitable, but they had the same IP risk. One of them kind of fizzled out, went through a failed process. The other one blew up, and then there's another brand we looked at, kind of like that also blew up. So if you did all these deals, you actually would have lost money. Is kind of what I'm getting at, if that makes sense. Like at the valuations that people were asking for, you would have lost money.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly valuation risk. But maybe it's a good topic of conversation because I think we'll disagree on this. Is like the importance of IP.
Well, let's go.
You're very conservative.
I'm pretty conservative, probably because it's largely our own capital.
Right. Which has worked out clearly. So that's not a dig.
No, I know. I'm just saying, I think that's why we're a little bit more conservative. I think it's also really hard to get money out in that case, right? Like, I don't know who you're going to sell to until that IP is there. And again, I think they can develop the IP. Like the founder is very smart. I don't think he'll have a problem getting the engineering side done. I just think his background's an engineer. No, maybe it's not, but he's done technical products.
I don't think that like IP, like, I don't know that like any consumer company has IP.
I'd say they do. Like Ridge, I actually think Ridge is a really good example where Sean did a good job of going after IP for the company and then defending it an insane amount. And they just destroy Knockoffs.
What's their IP?
Like their whole, I forget exactly specifically what's protected, but more or less like the wallet silhouette and I think a few other parts of it are protected, like the way it works.
But that's like probably a design patent. That's not like a
No,
utility. Like
it's not.
that's like,
It's not just design. They did get utility somewhere too, I believe. And then
oh, okay.
they got something else. So they've done a really good job of protecting the brand that way. I think that's one of the smartest things Sean's done.
But I'm sure they have plenty of knockoffs.
They have knockoffs, but they've like eradicated a lot of them, and they can't scale properly, and they've just like destroyed them.
Oh,
More or less.
interesting. Okay, maybe. Okay,
And
maybe
when
I
I
don't
say
know
he's
enough
done a
about
good job
this.
with the IP, I mean like 300 IQ move. It's really incredible. It's pretty cool. But
I'd love to know
I've
more
seen,
about that.
yeah, I guess like we've just seen a lot of brands in e-commerce. So they come in, the numbers look pretty good, and then 6 months later, there's a ton of knockoffs, and their margin erodes super fast.
So
Um,
maybe what about like outside of like a brand like Ridge? Maybe let's just put them in like a durables
yeah,
category, which is also where
like
this one
Hexclad has
company.
IP too around their
I would consider them durables. Like I think like hardware stuff.
yeah.
Maybe I'm just thinking of like beauty and like
Oh no,
personal
I'm not.
care.
I think beauty is the brand, right? I think in beauty you can actually build brand, which is real, and I think the brand side's more real than the specific category that you and I are talking about.
Okay. Uh, yeah, I don't
Because
know.
they, sorry, and I say that because brands actually, because companies actually trade purely on brand, more or less, in beauty, right? It's totally a thing. Like you'll
Well,
see,
isn't that kind of true for every category? Like is it like is Ridge's brand worth more than their IP? Like I would certainly think so.
I have no idea how to really fairly look at it.
Or
I don't know the
maybe
M
those
and A's.
aren't. Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
those
like
aren't even separate things.
what I do more so is like look at the category and look at M&A and how acquisitive the kind of arena is that the brand plays in. And in that space, when we looked at it, it just wasn't, there wasn't enough like going on in terms of acquisitions. If that company was in beauty, for example, we would have written the checks. I do think you could get exit liquidity fairly easily because beauty is so hot. It's still hot. Health and
Hmm.
wellness is so hot. It's always going to be hot. Like those are both categories, probably the only categories in consumer. Beverage is like that too. So is food, sorry, but we don't touch those.
Yeah.
Beauty and wellness are both, they're really basically the only two places where you can get really, really aggressive multiples and good liquidity. And it's actually always sloshing around regardless of how the economy is doing.
I'm gonna bring you a food and beverage deal that's gonna be so good that
I,
you
I
can't
just don't
you
know how to
can't.
underwrite it. I don't even know what I'm looking at. Like you might as well bring me like a construction company. I'll be like, I don't know.
I'm gonna bring you the best. I'm gonna find the best food and beverage deal in the entire market. I'm gonna
I
bring it
just
to
want to
you.
know what I'm looking at. I'd be like, oh, cool,
I
food.
don't
That's
care.
tasty.
It's gonna be so good that you have to do it, and then we can finally talk about the biggest
Food and bev.
the biggest segment of the entire consumer economy.
It's true. So yeah, I don't know. That's where we were at. Like, I just need a way to get exit liquidity out. We need to enter. I would seem to be able to underwrite the deal more or less. I don't want to say on a cash basis, but there needs to be a way to get cash out of it relatively quickly. Otherwise, you just take on so much risk in consumer, right? Like, look, there's all these really
Yeah.
good brands right now who are just knocked out because of tariffs. I actually think that specific one manufactures in China, by the way. They,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and that's going to be a problem. So,
Yeah. It certainly is. Nothing that's not solvable, but it's definitely a headwind. I
yeah,
think.
yeah, exactly. Just like one of the risks in consumer that you face, right? Is all I'm talking about. I'm just saying it's
Yeah.
really volatile, so you don't want long hold periods without some sort of cash going out to you. Like you need to offset that volatility. It's not like sticky SaaS revenue where it's fairly predictable. You have that revenue locked in. It's like you can go from being a very profitable company with good revenue to very unprofitable and kind of a bad company in like 2 weeks.
So I understand like the category bias.
Mhm.
I think it's important to talk about why, right? Like, why do people like beauty? High margin, relatively recurring, big markets, right? So, like, the reason that investors and buyers and, operators and whoever, the reason they get into these categories is for the characteristics of the financial complexion of the business, right? So, what do I want when I want to try to make money? I want high LTVs, whether that's first purchase AOV is a big number or, recurring revenue over time is, I actually prefer quickly realized AOVs, like
Do you say what you
Hexclad.
want? Do you like drugs, Drew?
Uh, yes.
Oh, well, you're supposed to say no because you know what? You know what a drug is for brands? Discounts. Discounts are a drug. Fondue's rehab. If you're burning dollars because of coupons, welcome to the club. Brands lose up to 20% of revenue to pointless non-incremental discounting. Fondue replaces coupons with cash back and supercharges those margins. You'll keep more of what you earn. You'll stop training your customer to wait for a code. Cheap, fast, and easy to test. So go out, do it, give it a test run. We're at a good spot here. We have Memorial Day, I think, coming up late May. So
Mm.
go install Fondue, give it a shot, test it out during Memorial Day, see if it works well for your brand, and then use it during BFCM and harvest some insane profitability wins. I mean, if it works well for your brand, which it probably will, or at least something you can throw in the rotation, it's a nice way to add freshness to your promotions. It's a nice way to add way more margin. Because only a certain percentage of people bother claiming cash back. It's not like they make it hard to claim or anything for the customer. It's just most people are kind of lazy. I mean, I know, like, how many of you have an old gift card or something in your wallet that you'll probably never use? Probably has like $7 on it, right? It's the same concept, but digital. So I would go install Fondue, let them know that we sent you, and let me know how it goes. I'm always curious.
The perfect time to try it. Because if you try it now and it works, then you have that in your war chest.
Yep.
For Q4.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's where we were bouncing around.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm not done. So what's important is, and I've written a little bit about this. LTV is important. I think people misconstrue LTV. Like Ridge has a very high LTV. Do they have many repeat purchases? No, they get a high first purchase AOV, which is the summation of that is LTV, right? So you want in any business, you want high LTVs and high margins. That's basically it. And then you want a big market so you can grow those unit economics through a big market.
Yep.
And so the reason that I would be personally excited to invest in this company that we're talking about is because they have that recurring revenue element.
I think you need an acquirer, and there's no acquirer in this case. There's like
Dyson could buy it, Shark Ninja could buy it, like any of those sort of home good. Like I disagree there as well. I think there's plenty of, and you honestly could take this thing public. Like if you got it to a certain scale, like like Shark Ninja has done.
I don't think you'll be able to take it public. And the public comps are so bad for better companies right now. I think that's the difficulty.
I don't think he has ambitions to take it public. But we were talking through like roadmap last night, and I was like, wow, there's a lot you can do with this. You can extend to every area of the home, basically. Like Hexclad could probably do something similar. I don't know that they will extend beyond cookware because they're obviously like Gordon Ramsay kind of flagship or whatever. But there's a lot you can do, and I just think that like I think the ultimate business combination, maybe if it's outside of beauty and personal care, because like Hims, I'm repeatedly on record saying that that's the perfect business model. Outside of that. I think it's this durables business model with some level of recurring. So like whether Jolie, like the reason that their retention is so good is because they have filters that you have to replenish.
How do you think Jolie will do over time?
I think Ryan will achieve his goals. I don't know that his goals are like anything crazy. I think it'll be like a nice 9-figure exit, low 9 figures kind of a thing.
Yeah, I wonder how all the knockoffs are impacting them. Because there's quite a few knockoffs now. And they built that company in public, which I think was a huge mistake. But
really?
Yeah, massive.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a consumer to building in public. I think it's like a really bad idea. I'm glad he did it though, because I learned a lot, but I think it's a bad idea. I wouldn't do it.
I think it's a bad idea for consumer. Like and like Dan from Create, I end up talking about him a lot.
By the way, I'm sorry, I should clarify why I think it's a bad idea. I think it's a bad idea.
That's what I was going to ask, yeah.
Because some idiot in Dubai can submit a fake DMCA to Shopify, take your site down, and then launch a rip of it and steal all your revenue until Shopify fixes that. And until very recently, they would just straight up take your site down, regardless of who you are. If you're doing 9 figures, Shopify would literally take your site down because they received a DMCA.
What's a DMCA?
It's like that Copyright Act, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, or whatever. They would just shoot you in the head and say like, yeah, I guess we'll put your brains back in if you bitch enough. But like, you could be a pretty chunky brand and run into that. And they patched it recently, but by recently, I mean like 6 to 12 months ago. So there are a lot of insane issues with it. You'll get like all the guys doing hardcore black hat, no ship type stuff. Are you familiar with that?
No.
They'll launch like a black hat website. They'll be set up in Dubai, and they'll process a payment, and they won't ship anything. But it would just be
Dubai?
Like, because apparently it's just like it's not very transparent. If that makes sense.
Interesting.
Hide a lot of stuff. Their payment processor will be in like Hong Kong or something too. Just super sketchy, and obviously even more sketchy. They don't actually ship anything. It's like you buy. You don't receive anything, and then it'll be a recurring charge sometimes. Like if you look up Black Hat MRR, it'll be like a surprise.
Oh, it's just a rug.
It's just total scam. But they'll target brands like Jolie, and they'll target brands like Hexclad, and they'll run knockoff type things. I mean, not a huge deal if you're massive. Like Hexclad's big enough that they can afford to hire someone and fight that full time.
Is that worth it? Like you said that about Rage too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's worth it. And we had a brand
Really?
that was selling baby carriers that was doing like, it does low 8 figures now.
Like, what do you think
Uh,
those brands spend a year on like that stuff?
you don't have to spend too much. We were spending like 15, 20 grand, and we
A
definitely made our
year?
money back. Yeah, well, we were getting crazy issues. Like people would hit our customer service team up frequently and say, "Hey, bought the carrier. There's a bunch of problems. Like my kid fell off. What the
Oh,
hell?" And I was like, "That's not even our product, lady. So thank you, but you didn't even buy from us. You bought a knockoff off Amazon. Or you bought a knockoff
uh,
somewhere else, and they shipped you something that wasn't even properly doesn't even meet the standards in the U.S. for child safety. Because right now, someone from well until 321 was closed, someone could literally ship a child like a device for kids, which is insane to me, and it would go direct to consumer, and it wouldn't have to meet safety standards. Pretty cool,
yeah,
right?
it's, yeah.
And it's not great for your brand. And the problem is, like that old lady, for example, that bought this happened all the time. By the way, we literally got these emails daily, and the brand was that big, and it was people, especially old people, buying this gift for their granddaughter or their grandson or whatever, because their kid had a kid, right? And they would just mess it up. They would just buy from a totally fake website, etc. So yeah,
I think yeah, knockoffs are interesting. The only time I ever felt it at Mad Rabbit, and granted we weren't like a 9-figure scale, um, was when like the buy box on Amazon would get ripped. That was
right,
like the only
right.
time where we were like, come on, like, and we would you report that. And it was people that were like, it wasn't even actually a knockoff. It was just some reseller that would buy a bunch of
Mhm.
Mad Rabbit at wholesale and then sell it on Amazon. And they at one point they had beaten us for the buy box, and we
No,
were
I've
like,
run into that all the time before too. It's just incredibly frustrating, right? It's like, and beauty, I wouldn't say beauty's not that bad because I think people are a little bit more conscious of where they buy beauty, et cetera, because they're putting it on their face. But for stuff
yeah,
where that's not going on, people are just kind of like, whatever. They'll just Google something and they'll buy the first result. Um,
yeah. One of the things I've certainly learned about. So I obviously was beauty, and before that I was health and wellness. Um, the difference between consumer categories is like fairly profound. Yeah, I was just gonna say the difference between some of these models is like I didn't appreciate it before. I think that's like actually an underrated, and like you won't maybe resonate with this because you see a lot of stuff, but um, I think the sort of like foxholedness or pigeonholedness or like whatever of like being an operator in a brand is like pretty under discussed. Like you don't really know like anything, or at least I didn't know anything about anything else. When I was CFO COO of Mad Rabbit, like all I knew was beauty. I didn't realize the differences in all these different categories. Like I sort of broadly maybe just thought of it as like consumer products, but there's really profound differences in the markets, in the supply chains, in the customers. Like everything is fairly different.
yep. Yeah, it's totally different. And I think like the only way to really get context around it is by jumping between brands or somehow looking at a lot of P&L and balance sheets. And even whenever I feel out of date, um, I'll just do random stuff to try and get up to date on a category. But like offer free, like a few months ago, I just offered to look at a bunch of brands for free and help them with profitability for 30 minutes each. But I really just wanted to like learn different categories better and
Oh,
get
is
kind
that
of
why
up
you
to
do
date.
that?
Yeah, I just want like I want to stay up to date. I want to know what does a good company look like? What does a bad company look like? Who's doing interesting stuff? What is there to learn from them? Like maybe they have a cool like I looked at a very cool product. Honestly, I don't know how to describe it. Honestly, it's like diagnostics, and it plugs into something that you use, and they do a really good job. Really amazing company, crazy tech, bootstrapped. I don't even know how you bootstrap something like that.
D to
And
C?
yeah, D2C, because what's good changes, right? It's all relative. So
Yeah,
I think staying on top of that's really important.
that's interesting. I wonder. I always wondered why you did that
Mhm.
for free.
Yep. Just juice volume. Get more reps in. I think it's good to kind of say
We
it's.
uh we do it. We don't do it for free.
Oh, really?
Well, I just like every customer that comes to us is asking for that basically.
Yeah.
Um,
What usually, just to be clear, we'll also do stuff like charge people or consulting or whatever, but it has to be something kind of interesting, where we can learn
yeah.
something. Otherwise, it's not really worth it. So
That's what's
yeah.
kind of interesting about. I've done very limited like mentor pass
Mhm.
calls. One of the mentor pass calls the first ever mentor pass call I did was Josh from Baseball Lifestyle. Shout out Josh, friend of the pod. I know he'll listen to this. And it's funny because, um, he was asking me stuff, and now he's the god of ecom. Actually, well, and retail. They have a big retail business.
What is
And
it?
it's Baseball Lifestyle. Oh, you're not familiar? Oh, dude, what?
No. Sorry, I should use audio. I forgot no one's gonna be watching video.
Oh, they're super public about their numbers. So I'll just regurgitate what they've said. Like they were when he booked me on MentorPass, this guy paid me to talk to me. I think he paid me $100 or something for like 30 minutes or whatever my mentor pass rate was at the time. And they were doing like 5 million, and he was trying to figure out like some MCA stuff. So I kind of talked him through that, and I think they whatever they used, they used it well, and now they're gonna do like, I don't know exactly what they're public about, but like well into the 9 figures. Like they've grown like 5, 50, 100 plus kind of a deal. Taylor Holiday is like good friends with them. I think they've talked about their numbers on that podcast.
What do you think? It's apparel brand.
Yeah, it's apparel. It's mom's credit card. So it's baseball apparel for like teenage boys.
Oh, weird. Okay.
So they've cracked the apparel model, which when it works, it works. You know what I mean? Like they do drop. Yeah, they do drops. I think every Friday or maybe once a month on Fridays. And it's like, like they build so much brand equity, and I give Josh all the credit in the world. Like he ran an Instagram page, like a kid's like Instagram baseball page for 10 years before he started the e-commerce business. Yeah,
does he like baseball a lot? Baseball guy.
He looks like a baseball guy.
You know what? There's a lot of baseball guys in D2C. I think Taylor Holiday used to play pro baseball, and then I think Andrew Ferris might have too. A bunch of those guys are like baseball guys. I remember one time, the first time I met him, I talked to him quite a bit, and I was like, "Man, is their whole team like ex-baseball guys?" It's cool.
I think Taylor was like on the Yankees.
yeah, he was. He is like he posted a card, like they made a card of him or whatever.
How cool is that?
A trading card. That's really cool. Yeah, it's awesome.
He looks like a baseball guy too.